So, our first guest in special interview session in Ukrainian Women's Congress in Poltava is Сабін Фрейзер Гюнеш, who is representative of UN Women in Ukraine. And my first question is, what does gender responsive and inclusive recovery mean, especially in context of Ukrainian situation?
Thank you so much for having me here at the Congress. There's so much energy. It's so exciting. This is a great opportunity for women who work in local and regional authorities, women who work in civil society, and women who work in the economy to really define what gender responsive recovery is. Because what we know is that for Ukraine, there's going to need to be a lot of investment, a lot of effort put into the recovery phase, and it is essential that it be gender responsive. What that means is that it is essential that it meets the needs of women and girls. Today we heard some examples of that. It will be very important that there be care that is provided for women so that they can work, so that there be kindergartens, that there be places for elderly people to be taken care of. We know that it'll be very important for there to be economic opportunities for women, that there'll be loans, that there'll be ways for women to gain new skills, to enter into new jobs. So there are a lot of different projects and programs that will be essential to gender responsive recovery. Now we need to make sure that those are prioritized and that those are funded.
What should be done to advance gender responsive recovery in Ukraine? What is your opinion?
So I think what is very important to advance gender responsive recovery is first of all to make sure that the voices of women are heard, that women themselves can help making decisions on what gender responsive recovery will look like. So today is a good example of that. For example, women parliamentarians, women who work in regional administrations, women who work at the community level in Hromadas and local councils. It's very important that their voices be heard to be able to advance gender responsive recovery. In addition to that, it's very important that there be data, that we really understand what are the gender needs, what are the needs of women and girls. So to have gender disaggregated data, to be able to really argue for projects that support women and girls. And finally, I would say that what is super important, of course, will be the budgeting and financing. We talked today about something called gender responsive budgeting. So it's to ensure that budgets at all level, national level, regional level, local level, that they also consider specifically what kind of projects can advance gender equality. So those are three things that I would recommend.
And my last question, if saying generally, why do you think gender equality question is so important in Ukraine? What is the role of UN Women in this process?
So gender responsive recovery is so important today in Ukraine because, first of all, we know that unfortunately women have been extremely negatively affected by the war. We know that the majority of refugees abroad are women. We know that the majority of IDPs, internally displaced persons, are women. We know that women more often than men have lost their jobs. So women have been incredibly affected by the war, and they will now need to be supported. On the other hand, women have also taken on incredibly important leadership positions. You also see women NGOs, women civil society organizations who have played a very important role in humanitarian assistance and now starting to play in recovery. You see women in government. You also see women in the economy. Now we know that 1 out of new businesses created last year was created by women. So on one hand, you have women that have big needs, but you also have women who can play very strong leadership roles. So us at UN Women, we look forward to very much working on both sides of the equation, helping women who are the most vulnerable, who are the most in need, but also supporting women's rights organizations, women in government, to also take on those leadership roles. So at UN Women, we're looking forward to doing both things here in Ukraine.
Thank you very much for the interview and for your assistance. Thanks.